morning. I am going to do some writing. I had something in mind. I think I want to try this. My daughter is sleeping right now, or trying to. Anyways, just put her down. Share. What's this look like? Alright. I thought I had a interesting layout for this. Something like this. Yeah, I just got news, my brother, that the guy that we would call our stepdad for a while, a long while, they found him dead either yesterday or today. And there's like mixed emotions there. But I had some other stuff in mind I wanted to write about. I mean, it kind of relates. I mean, last night, Ann and I watched a movie called Brooklyn. And the problem with trying to recall kind of like how you felt in a moment to write is hard. And I mean, I've had this idea for a while, wanting to talk about grief and mourning, and it's so funny watching my daughter right now trying to go to sleep. She's like hanging there, laying there with her legs dangling out of the crib. Anyways. Well, maybe it's not a good idea to play music right now. That's a friend, some friends of mine that I haven't talked with for a long time on YouTube here, called the Bound for Severance. And used to play with those guys a lot, but yeah. I think what I'll do. She's really not happy about this right now, but she's very tired. Oh, stop audio. Put that back. So yeah, there's the thing. If anybody wants to come in, let me know. I'm gonna be writing. No. If you want to come in, just let me know. This can wait. The thing is if you want to come in, you have to let me know in the chat, because I can't see the StreamYard right now. So if you're in the waiting room, you'll have to tell me in the chat. Yeah, my obviously, if you know me, then you know my spelling is shit. I usually don't like to do any of this stuff until after the fact because it's so distracting. Welcome. Can you hear me?
Thank you. Yeah, I think I can hear you now.
Are we? Is the timing good or is it kind of goopy? Because last time I tried this, I don't know if my internet was messy or something.
I think it is good.
Okay, good. Yeah, seems good.
Sweet.
I can put that on pause. I have my general idea that I want to get down, so I'll stop sharing for now.
Um,
And
do you do writing streams a lot?
no, I do. I've done one other one,
It
and
seems hard to do. Like this would happen.
well, I'm not a real writer, so I just pretend to be one. So it kind of helps. That kind of helps.
Yeah.
And I like to generally what I do is I put on like usually it's like music that doesn't have any lyrics or anything,
Hmm.
stuff that I'm not really familiar with, so my mind doesn't really hook into it. So it's
Hmm.
oftentimes it's like a lot of jazz stuff, and I just like that because it's I like to have a uh, background noise while I'm writing, kind of helps. But if it's like stuff that I'm familiar with, sometimes that can be really distracting. But
Yeah.
this idea that I wanted to write right now, it's more to do with something that's been kind of floating around for a while,
Mm.
things that I've been thinking about, and and then you know getting the news that I just got from my brother about my mom's ex husband slash. Uh, I I'm very hesitant to call him a stepdad, but I think at the time we would have.
Mm.
He had been, I guess, found dead yesterday, and
Oh God.
it's related. It's related, and like my brother was saying, he's like what's just so fucked up about it is like he was just so fucking sad.
Mm.
Like it didn't happen sooner. It's kind of a tragedy, and it wasn't that he was merely sad. I mean, I think he was sad, but the manifestations of his sadness were chaos and um, destruction and hate and things like that. And I relate to the sadness and the spiritual, you know, um, decay, and I do relate to that. And like when I talk with my wife about the stuff that we had grown up with, she'll say that it was traumatic,
Mm.
and that yeah, you guys were victims of like weird shit. And own those kinds of labels. My internet's being weird. Sorry.
It's okay.
Um, but yeah, so that's kind of in the idea. It has to do with. I think what I'm thinking about is something like Domicide. So in this movie we watched last night, it's called Brooklyn. It's about this Irish girl who um, who takes a boat. Her sister gets enough money from and talks with the father of the church that they attend and in Ireland, and she takes a boat over to America in like 1952 or something. And she, she's this like lone uh, young woman in America who um, has to create a life, and in the in that story, she's writing to her sister about how she's homesick, and I had the thought that I've never been homesick, but in a weird way, I think I've always been homesick, and
Mm.
that's like something that I don't know for sure, but I have a sense that that is kind of like that must be some sort of background um, reality for us,
Yeah.
like the greater us. And we don't know how to really look at that or address that. So we just kind of keep moving on and doing all the things that we do to try to uh, cope with the spiritual decay, I guess. I don't know how else to say that.
Yeah. um, I wanted to hop on because I just wanted to say hi because I feel like I want to get to know you a little bit more in person. But then also, uh, the grief thing was something I just got to go on vacation with some friends. I have a wife and a 1 year old son, and they have it's a couple, a married couple, and they have a 1 year old son. He just turned one on the trip, um, so we're very similar. We've been through some things together. Um, One of the things is their firstborn son. He lived for 24 hours, and he was born 3 months premature and had horrible health complications all through the pregnancy. Really, like it was crazy. Like amniotic fluid transfusions and all this stuff to try to um, save his life, and it didn't happen. And that was not devastating to them, which was the craziest thing. Like obviously it was, and so there's this weird thing of their like faith and relationship with Jesus and their church community sustained them through something that was like destroying them, and just as their close friends observing, like I was like scandalized by the faith that they had in God and in Jesus through that whole process because it was like, like they didn't deserve it or whatever. I don't know how any of that stuff works, but it drew a reaction out of me, I think. And so now they do have a son now, and we're, I think, 2 years, almost 2 years removed from, uh, their son passing,
Mhm.
and they're talking about the grief and the process of it and how it's changing. And um, my the guy, his dad passed away. He had been addicted to heroin, I think, lots of things, and but then he got into recovery and he got saved and turned his life around, and he was doing recovery ministry for other guys, and then his heart just gave out like after that uh, life, and so with that, he has the experience of grief with his dad, who he knew for 16 or 17 years, and that was hard. It was hard, like got divorced from his mom and all of that. But he loved his dad, and his dad came back around and was able to. There were good years, and his my buddy was saying his grief with his dad is to a place where when he thinks of, like, when something brings up a memory of his dad or something, oh, my dad would say this in this situation, um, or my dad would laugh at this in this situation. He feels like he's shifted to like there's some sort of positive emotion associated with the grief. Like he experiences the loss of his dad, the absence of his dad, and the presence simultaneously. And with his son, it's different because he didn't have those things. So there's a degree of like missing out with his son that it's just different. But yeah, so that was some stuff I was thinking about grief because he was saying all of that. And then I thought of sin in my life as grief, like things that I missed out on because of the way that like the sequence of events in my life, like, losing my virginity to random loser people that I don't really want to be associated with in my life anymore. Um, Being a different person at that time and then getting saved and getting married, and there's like a disorderedness to that part of my life. That's just one aspect. But like, there's all types of things. Like, I wish I never was that mean to that person or whatever. All that stuff you wish you could take back is sort of grieving. Like when that comes up, I think a lot of people have that experience of like shame. I'll just speak for myself. I have an experience of shame when I think of things that are shameful that I've done. And it was helpful to connect the two ideas of like, you can't really do anything about it. It's like you can grieve it. And I don't know if I have been well trained in the process of grief, but it was something we were talking about because it's something that they are intimately acquainted with. And so like people who are acquainted with grief are good guides down the path of life grieving.
Hmm.
And then what you just said about homesickness, I was reading Hebrews 11. It was like blowing my mind because I was reading the Greek, which is, I'm super dangerous for me because I'm like, I don't know it that well, but I like to like look at the different definitions and see like, why did they pick this word over that word or whatever. And uh, it was just making me think some things. So then I started Hebrews from the beginning last night. I fell asleep in like the middle because it gets into all the Hebrew Melchizedek stuff, and I don't know what it's talking about. But the the uh, the homesick thing is in there. It's like they're longing for a land with eternal foundations or something like that. And that's the thing that God's promising to the fathers, and and it's still being promised to us. So that just connected with what you were saying.
Interesting. Yeah. Yeah. Well, also, I posted a link to a song. I don't know if you ever heard the song "Persevere" by Gang of Youths, but I posted it in the chat for you if you want to check that out.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, it's very that song um, found me. Uh, well, I think it was a gift from God at a particular moment in my life where I needed to hear it, and yeah, that was very powerful. Still is. Um, um, Longing for what was it in Hebrews? They were longing for a place of eternal foundations,
Yeah, yeah.
a land
I'm
of
trying to
eternal
find it.
foundations.
I I have a NIV Lectio Bible, so it's got none of the numbers for
Yeah,
anything. It's just the book, and then you read the whole thing. So I can never find
I
anything after I read in that.
I think of some of the other stuff that was going on that I was noticing in that movie was like they were at the beach in whatever, I don't know where, New York or whatever, and they're like there's whole like the whole beach is full of people and families, and they're all like doing swimming or whatever. It's summertime, and I was thinking about like, okay, so I know that families they still exist, right? I understand that. I just think, and I don't know if this is accurate or not, but I have like this the image of domicide um, excuse me, is has become more vivid for me when I think about when I just try to imagine, step back and imagine what do what does the average family look like today in general, at least in this country. Um, are they are they doing, you know, Sunday get-togethers or whatever? Are they not just like, you know, the husband, wife, and the kids, but like with grandparents and cousins and whatever? And are they doing that? And are they also doing like what are they doing in their downtime as a family? And I was just thinking about all these different kinds of things, and like I feel like when I think of the family today, I feel like it's like very uh, like isolated cells,
Hmm.
and and it just my heart kind of breaks for that because it's like, man, we have everything that we could possibly want except this kind of um, deeper connection and understanding that goes, you know, beyond, you know, ideologies and stuff like that. It's like, um,
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's like
Yeah.
belonging. I just got to, we went on this vacation and on the way down, um, Daniel Garner, I just
Yeah.
did the thing on my podcast with him. But so he always ends his podcast with like, uh, like when it's time to plug stuff, he's like, you can check out my website. I've got all this stuff there. And if you're ever in Virginia, dinner's about 5 o'clock, so come on over. And so I just texted him like, "Hey, we're gonna be in the area, so can we come over for dinner?" And he was like, "Sure." So we actually spent the night there, and it was incredible. It was super fun, great conversation, as you might imagine. And he's got a beautiful family, 4 kids, and excellent cooking, and it was just fantastic. And my wife my wife hit it off with his wife, and vice versa. So that was good. And the uh, the thing that the thing that I think about what you're saying is like he's got like a few giant books about belonging again, and we've we've drifted into this like an attempt to sort of remove the need to belong, which is strange because for me and my participation in the TLC is evidence of this. Like, I just feel like I don't belong. I don't really want to belong, So it's kind of like a tricky. If I'm assessing, what it is that what I'm supposed to belong to, I'd be like, I don't know if I want to belong to that. But then the other side of that coin is like, I do want to belong, like, and I think I found the passage from Hebrews, but it's when it's talking about Abraham in chapter 11. It says, "By faith, Abraham, when called to go to a place he would later receive as his inheritance, obeyed and went, and even though he did not know where he was going, by faith he made his home in the promised land like a stranger in a foreign country. He lived in tents, as did Isaac and Jacob, who were heirs with him of the same promise, for he was looking forward to the city with foundations, whose architect and builder is God." And I think that temporal, like the temporary nature of his residence, is something that is difficult for us because when you talk about institutions that I don't want to participate in, it's like there's a reason for that. They're a little bit like dead, or they're a little bit like insensitive. They're not quite. They don't have their finger on the pulse of like not just me, but like what all of us are going through. Like as long as you show up at this institution, they might not care if you live in the salt box. Sort of like communities where every house looks the same and every family, you don't even need to know your neighbors because you've got everything in the giant garage and uh, in the pool and the home entertainment system. And like, it's not just stuff either. It can be like, you're too busy. You're not even in your house so that you have all those things in, because you're out doing things in a sort of isolated way. Um, but yeah, the belonging thing is like Abraham was willing to participate in the space that God put him in, but belong to God. And I think that I don't know how to do that together, and I don't even know if Abraham's a great example of that. Like he went out from his father's tent, and he did his own thing. He was hospitable, I guess, but he might be sort of a type of something else.
I was thinking about also last night. This image came to mind about the. It's kind of like a parable or a parable of the parable. So it's kind of like the the rich young ruler, but it's like the responsible good father walks up to Jesus and he says, "What can I do to get into the kingdom?" And he's like, "Well, I did, you know." And then Jesus is like, "Well, what does the text say or whatever?" And he's like, "Well, I read the text and it says all this and blah 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 blah." And he's like, "Okay, sell everything and move back home." And the guy went away sad because he couldn't. What I mean by move back home is like um, so Anna's had this um, injury to her back, and she just had to have surgery, and we are like getting by having friends or help from her mother, and then her sister came up from St. Louis and spent the week here. Um, so she can't lift anything for like a month, and I'm at work, and so when Carolyn wakes up, who's going to get Carolyn out of the crib, and who's going to put her back in the crib to take naps and stuff, right? And so we've been having to call around and try to get help so that people can help Anne, because she can't do it as much as she wants to. She just can't. and um, and Anne's brother and sister-in-law and their 5 kids live in Indiana, which is like 5 hours south of us. And I was just thinking, I think, I mean, like, and I, I've also had issues with trying to figure out how to get connected with my church, and I'm still waiting to see if they actually help in some way with this particular situation. It remains to be seen. I'm trying to be optimistic about it, but I'm not. I'm not. And it's not shade. It's just I don't know if it'll happen, right? And so, but I'm thinking, man, I just about assume we just pack up, sell the house, move to Indiana, because we could move 3 minutes from my her brother and in-laws and Carolyn's cousins, and like it just seems like, and they're really damn good people, and Carolyn's godparents and stuff too. And I was just thinking that, so that when I had that thought of that image of Jesus telling the responsible good father, sell everything and move home. And that's what it is. It's like, go back to your people, and we don't have people like we used to, I don't think. And like, we don't have and so when I think of like your salt box houses and stuff, or people with the swimming pools or whatever the thing is, that's just like a higher level issue. The issue below it is that we all continue to try to be pioneers and homesteaders in a land that doesn't need that. And so we just started continually going out and out and out and further away from our people. And it's really hard to connect to people. You can have all of the things which are nice, but if you don't have your people, like it's so isolated. It's so hard to, uh, well, I don't know. That's my experience with it. It just seems so difficult. And so, and the other part of the parable about the parable is we won't do it. I'm not going to sell my house and move to Indiana. I kind of want to, but will I really? You know, that's the thing. It's the sell everything and go home. Yeah, no, that sounds really nice, but not for me. You know what I mean?
Yeah. The thing that I was looking into with Hebrews was just the first few verses. I was really going there because I always go back to the Hebrews 11:6. It says, "And without faith it is impossible to please God, because anyone who comes to him must believe that he exists and that he rewards those who earnestly seek him." And the because turns it into a huge riddle. It's like, without faith it's impossible to please God. Okay, yeah, I could see that. It's sort of like, uh, works-based salvation. Like, I just need to have believe the right things about God, and God will be happy with me, that sort of thing. But then he says, because anyone who comes to him must believe that he exists and that he's a rewarder of those who earnestly seek him. Like, wait a second. So I think you see like a definition of faith in that. Like you have to. It sounds dumb, almost, but it's like that's what makes it a riddle. It's like, what is going on here? You have to believe that he exists. Okay, fine. I guess I don't really know what that means uh, in an ancient context. Like, it exists is sort of like the Jordan Peterson "God's not a table" sort of problem that atheists have, and then
The last four words are what's most salient.
who earnestly seek him. Yeah,
That's, I mean, that's to me, that's the whole thing in a nutshell. Because I think if you earnestly seek him, like, it doesn't care what you say. It doesn't matter what you think you say you believe or whatever. It's like,
yeah,
I mean, in some sense it matters, I think, but you know, to take the things that you think you believe and lay them out on the table, or lay them out, whatever, in a practice, and actually examine what it is that you say you believe, what you think you believe. I think that's an act of seeking, an earnest seeking, and then sometimes it's like that. The I'm a really bad biblicist, so I don't know really much. But there's a thing where Jesus talks about the guy that says he will do it and but doesn't do it, but the guy that says I'm not going to do it but does it.
mm,
Like, which one
yeah,
is whatever? Like, that to me is kind of like this earnest seeking. Like,
yeah,
you could say all you want, but if you're not, I mean, if you're not living in accordance with the way that reality would like, um what's the right word, would demand of you, I guess,
yeah.
then
Um,
yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Mhm.
The so the opening verse, I think, is connected to verse 6 of this chapter. So it says, uh, I'm switching translations now because this is the one I was reading it in and picking apart. But it says, now faith is the assurance of things hoped for, the conviction of things not seen. And I think that moves, like, not to be too TLC, but I think that moves into the propositional. Like, in my brain, that's how it works. I'm reading that, I'm like, oh, like, this is sort of dogmatic or rhetorical belief in things that I know I'm supposed to think about God and the Bible and Jesus and how life works. But as I was digging into it, that word, um, for assurance is pretty much like, literally, it's hypostasis, which is like substance. It just means substance. So it's like something fundamental, real, material. That's what substance means. So it's the material reality of things hoped for. So that's interesting. But then the conviction of things not seen. Conviction is a word that's used two times, and conviction's a perfectly reasonable definition for it. But uh, it 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 is like this. It's like a process. It's like in action. So it's a testing of something rather than a past tense being convinced of, like this, I know that this is true. So rather than past tense just assuming something, but being in the process of like confirming something, you know what I'm saying? And
Mhm.
uh so when you go back to verse 6 and you have that process of confirmation, actually here verse 2 he says, for by it the men of old gained approval. But approval doesn't mean approval either. It's like they fulfilled their purpose, right? That's what that word means. They're well pleasing. They fulfilled the purpose that God had for them. So in verse 6, when he says, without faith, it's impossible to please him, he's referring back to that. This is what the men of old got. Um, and that God is a rewarder of those who seek him. I think that's that conviction, the need to go through that process of testing God. And so when you
Mhm.
talk about at the end of the parable not being able to go through with it, that's the failure. Not being willing to put God to this test, to challenge him to be good to his word, to reveal to you the the extent of his good character and his love for you, you know? And I
Mhm.
think that's what faith really is like the willingness to go through the process of, it's not a test in the sense of like I'm gonna catch God out, you know, like, oh, he doesn't really mean it, but rather, you know, like you test something to see if it can hold your weight or whatever.
Mhm. Yeah, I think that um, yeah, I think there's a lot of well, I'm trying to think of like this the way that I once viewed, let's say, um, just for lack of a better word, Christianity. um, and I mean, I had such a limited understanding. It was like it was like a fragment of a fragment of like a barrel full of glitter that's fragments of the truth about Christianity. Like I had nothing, no understanding, just a cultural, 100,000 foot opinion about what the stuff was. And then once and so it's hard to have. But what's weird is like that would be what I would be faithful to is this kind of understanding, which was like a straw man of things. But I didn't even know what that meant. I just knew that I was afraid,
Mm.
and and I couldn't, and I'm afraid of everything, and and then I would just continue to go by and go, live that way, and then I had like the the experience where I kind of describe it as being captured by Christ, and then from there you get like start hanging around these parts for a while, and you just hear people talking about all sorts of different things, and then what's interesting is the understanding of of God and Christ and the church and tradition and all of that as it relates to, let's say, people and the way that people are. Um, People, it's like as that the more I walk down that path, the more kind of chaotic a static image of what the church and Christ and all that stuff is. It becomes more chaotic because it's like no, there's no way that it's not it's not substance, right? It's like this well, it's ineffable.
Hmm.
And at times maybe it needs to be. Maybe at times it needs to be more propositional or more whatever or more like rigid or more rooted in a particular tradition or whatever. And then like so that's like breathing, right? So when you breathe, you must breathe, obviously, but you must not always breathe at all times. There are times when breathing is inappropriate. And so there's like so it's sometimes it's like, and that I think this was given to me through like the 12-step process that those guys helped me through, because they were like, everything was like wear this like a loose garment. Life is like a loose garment. And um and like at the foundation, I guess, the fundamental um, reality is that my perception of reality is inaccurate, tainted, skewed, but also I'm a person, so I'm driven by desires and care and love and all these things. Even and sometimes that comes out looking like hurt or whatever. But I think I'm rambling in a way that's probably insane to whoever's listening to this. But like, so the point is like, I think faith, the dance. So like when I think of a leap of faith or whatever, the Kierkegaardian way, I think of a dance. I think it's been described as a dance.
That's
Because,
the image that he's writing. Yeah.
right, and so it's not like I'm just gonna I'm standing here in a static pose, you know, and then I see something, and I'm like, well, I guess I'm just gonna jump. No, it's like you're constantly moving,
Yeah.
and sometimes you're being led, and sometimes you're, and so it's a dance.
Yeah. You're making me think about like I think I actually do like to dance. Like I think it's kind of fun.
Yeah,
I'm like fairly athletic, you know, like I move around and do stuff and but like I I hate the dances where everybody else knows what's going on and I don't know the popular dance. Like I'm more like freestyle, bopping around, whatever. But so then when it's like the Cuban shuffle or whatever, I cannot like for the life of me get in line with that because I don't know the moves. So it takes me a few rounds and then whatever, and then I can figure it out. But in the beginning, those are the most terrifying moments of the whole evening. You know, it's like I don't worry about what I look like. I feel confident about my suit. You know, at a wedding. But when we get to the point where it's like. Okay, everybody, we're doing this dance that everybody likes to do. I'm like, oh my God, I'm gonna be the one guy that's like turning the wrong way, or so that's what a leap of faith feels like to me in this context. Is like,
yeah,
uh, there's some ways in which people like that pattern where we can all collectively know what we're supposed to do to fit into this movement. But then when it goes to like, okay, this is actually going to challenge my ability to do this move, which like a dancing leap is very difficult to do in a beautiful way. And you might not even know where like what the first move is to start doing that, but you can sense that it's required or sense that it would be good, and so the faith is almost childlike, you know, like, oh, I'm just gonna try this, and you know, I'll probably fail and fall down or look silly, but the more that you do it, then eventually you get to the point where, yeah, this is what I do, and when the moment calls for it, I'm capable to rise to that moment, you know, like you were saying that about life sort of requiring reality requiring this of you. I think that's something that I associate with faith now is like I used to say it as wisdom, and I don't think that those two things necessarily are different. Wisdom is one of the it overlaps with faith in the Old Testament at least constantly, and it's a fittedness to real life. You know, it's like you know, there's a different concept of dharma, which is like you're fulfilling your duty. Like this is your purpose, or this is what you're for, and if you do it, uh, that's correct. And I think karma is a different sort of substrate of that, where it's like, and if you don't do it, this is the consequence. But if you do it, this is the consequence. It's just the way that it works, rather than you know God up there, like that was a bad dancing leap that you just did, Ian. You know, and you need to. I'm punishing you for that because you fell over. You know, that's punishment. It's like no, that has nothing. That is a false image, I would say.
yeah. I mean, yeah, and maybe some. maybe sometimes that is the case. It's hard to know. I
Yeah.
think sometimes that might be the case. I'm not really willing to say that God never imposes um, punishment.
I'm not saying that either. I'm
I don't
saying,
know because I
okay,
don't know,
yeah,
and um, like okay, if you're somebody who is, let's say we're talking at the level of metaphor. So if you're somebody who is like accustomed to um, nothing or like the way that you operate is like parkour 100% of the time, parkour, always parkour, right? That's a kind of dance, right? But you're not really dancing with anybody else. You're dancing with you're dancing with like um uh obstacles, I guess, right? Um and and I don't know exactly what the point of parkour is, other than are you running from or to something? I don't know, but it doesn't, and it requires your kind of like artful, willful use of the world around you. Um, but like you can't parkour on a like on a flat surface.
hmm
You're just running then.
hmm
So, it's um but so dancing is like as a with partners, with people, and this is the thing I think, like here's I think that the actual um the sin, our collective sin, is has to do with um well, I know everybody, we're always pointing to like individualism is like the thing, and I totally think that is it. I mean, I think it's this idea that um well, it's self-centeredness, I think, is our collective sin, is that they don't understand me, I don't understand them, it's me, and what makes it a like the worst kind of sin is that we don't even recognize that that's what we're in.
mm
Like we just think that it's um uh like some like I'm in pain, and why am I in pain? Well, that's or whatever. Or I'm helping them, why aren't they you know what I mean? Whatever the
Yeah.
thing is, it's all self-centeredness. And so like dancing with a partner, I mean, that to me is like parkour is kind of like a self-centered image in a way. I'm not saying actual parkour, I'm saying the metaphorical
Yeah. Yeah.
ridiculous thing. And you could do that for a while, and then you have to realize that, uh, it's it's lonely out there when I'm alone.
Yeah.
And um, I don't know, I don't know. So like these are the kinds of things I'm thinking about with like um, looking at just us, this collective us, whatever the I don't know why I keep using that word collective, but it's
Yeah.
kind of a nasty word. Like
Socialist.
yeah, like the thing is like I never really gave a shit about these kinds of like um, being aware of the words that I use. And nowadays, it's like I want to be careful because words mean something, and maybe they're spells even.
Mm.
And then it's like, but am I, and then I'm not casting the spell, but I'm casting the spell upon myself because I'm
Yeah.
like, I said collective. It's like so stupid. I don't even know what I'm
Um,
saying, but
can you
yeah.
see the? Are you seeing any of the chat
Yeah, I'm just trying to ignore it because it could be like it'll I'll
It's
lose my
too
train of
much.
thought.
Okay.
But yeah,
Well,
I love Sherry. But
I know she's nailing it. That's we don't have to. If you saw it, then I'm good too. It's in there. Shout out Sherry. Um, I was gonna say about sin that later in Hebrews 11 he's talking about Moses, and he says by faith Moses, when he had grown up, refused to be called the son of Pharaoh's daughter, choosing rather to endure ill treatment with the people of God than to enjoying the passing pleasures of sin. And so sin triggered it, but then the individual, Moses, being the son of Pharaoh's daughter, he chose rather to be part of the ill treated collective. And I think that that's really interesting. And I didn't pick up on that yesterday when I was reading it. I just was thinking about sin in the sense of like passing pleasure of sin makes me think about like jerking off or drinking or the types of things that you get shunned for in church, you know? And in reality, I think it is just the succumbing to the temptation to not be who you are. And so that's interesting because that is very individual the way I just said that. And I tend to I like Tim Ferriss and Chris Williamson and Joe Rogan and Jordan Peterson and all of those people you could label as uh, self-help, individualist culture type of people. And I think to some extent that they are.
progressive.
Sure, yeah. And they exist within a culture that puts them on a pedestal. Like these are good examples of individuals who worked really hard and did a good job. And there's another part of this that, because, like Peterson's, his whole thing is you are personally responsible for the sins of the entire culture, which is maybe a good place to start. And then if you end up being like, well, I'm going to be, I think that's, okay, let me get back on track. So succumbing to the temptation to be who you are not is pleasurable because it's sort of like novel and it's sort of like the grass is greener and all of these things that like draw you away from something more deeply true about yourself. But then this having people like what you were saying is it becomes impossible the further that you follow the trail of temptation. You lose your people. You're the one sheep away from the 99. And I think that it's
And
fascinating.
you've got no shepherd.
Right, yes. But it's fascinating to think about sin as just not fulfilling your purpose because I think I tend to avoid thinking that because of Christianity in a certain meme form where it's like, if I'm not in the will of God, I'm committing sin, and that makes me have weird, like, authority, like, fear problems. Like, oh, is it okay if I do this? Is it okay if I do this? I'm not able to take initiative. I'm not able to, like, live my life without that fear. And it's important to be concerned with how you're living your life. But, like, the idea that in the beginning of this chapter where he's saying, like, faith is a sort of process of testing God to know his character, but to experience his character, to be in relationship with him. So then the passing pleasures of sin is sort of this like, I'm going to enjoy something else where I don't do that. I don't have to experience God from my own perspective as the piece of the whole that I am. But then you miss out on the purpose of, and these are hard things for my own self, so I'm kind of like jumbled here because I'm sorting through it all. But when you are not being yourself in relationship with others and with God, that's the golden commandment or whatever. Like, love the Lord your God and love other people as yourself. And so I think that is the purpose of each person. And so when you individualize and make it even like a test, like, well, am I doing a good enough job loving God, loving other people? It's like, no, it's what you're made for. So something is distracting you or something is restricting you from what it is that you were made for?
Well, I think I have this idea. I don't know how much I how much more I've thought about it, but this idea of so the relational ontology was something that was kind of being floated around for a while, um, which I think there's really something to that. Um, but I was thinking about and then somebody said participatory ontology. I think the same person said both. I think those are both really good. Um, but I really wonder about uh, if a higher principle, or to assume an ontology, let's say, I don't know if that's making sense, is an others centered ontology.
Mm.
um,
Relational.
no, no, because relational has where you'll expect to receive.
Mm.
And so another centered is regardless of if I get or not. Right.
Agapic, something like that.
Yes. Yeah. It's like an agapic ontology.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, it's like but yeah, it's something like that. It's like uh now in my life has always moved, I think, truest when I was trying to live that way.
Mm-hmm.
Um and anytime it kind of got wonky was when I kind of moved off of that beam.
Yeah.
And oftentimes it's like, and maybe that's kind of like, again, sometimes it's not always appropriate to breathe.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe it's not always appropriate to be living a others centered ontology, right? Maybe it is appropriate to remember that you are in relationship with others. Um, but even that, like the relationship with others, it's it's not so that I can get, but so that we can continue to be properly.
Agapic.
Yes,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, and I don't know. Like this is what's so scary to me about a lot of this stuff is I don't know how we are going to we. What I mean by we is like what I was writing there earlier was like we, all of us, the ones that don't even know that are being talked about right now, all of us. Like I don't know how we're going to um, surrender.
Mm.
Um, because like man, when I step back, it's not just doomer. It's not just doomy shit. It's like I see I see images of like I see an image of a broken vase. Like I see just like glass everywhere, and that's like, and it's not one. Like and it's like and we don't even know that we can't admit that that's what's happened.
Mm. Mm.
We still think that we're living in like this this connected um relational way. Like we still think, I think at the foundation of it, well, that's why we kind of act like everything's fine, but then we have like chaotic like uh discourse, but we have chaotic discourse, um but we still go to work and do all this. We still like live life because really it's just fine. We just want to bitch and complain. But it's like, no, like shit's really fucking
Mhm.
like the net is falling apart. It's frayed to the point where it's not. We're not. Yeah, and maybe that's yeah. I don't know.
I just put a video in the chat. About a bunch of people probably have seen it, but Makoto Fujimura had a thing at the ARC conference
Yeah.
talking about cultural kintsugi,
Yeah.
and I think that that's just perfect for, I mean, for what you're talking about, but for where we're at, and that's what you were talking about. That we can't even recognize like that the thing is broken. We don't somehow see that, and yeah, that's like that's what my concern is about the matrix or the simulation. Is like whether or not reality is something like that's simulated for us. I feel like we exist as though reality is a simulation. Like we participate with a false narrative or a false uh, set of inputs, and then uh, that's why the fights online are so explosive because people are from totally different realities coming coming in contact with one another. So, uh, my favorite hockey team, one of the players won gold on USA, and then wore a MAGA hat, and so everybody's like super mad at him, and he's Christian too. So like, um, it's like Christian nationalism now that he wore the hat, and then it's like nobody knows this guy. They don't know anything that he means when he wears. Like if you just took the phrase "Make America Great Again" without any of the the contents of the meme, then I don't know. Like how could you argue against that? When you want it to be great? Like, but somehow the meme means you know racist and dumb and bad and
Yeah.
uh, all the
Well,
whatever.
I
And
take I take I was thinking about last night when I hear people talk about Americanal exceptionalism. I just think that's kind of an oxymoron, or it's redundant
mm,
because it is exceptional.
yeah,
Um, and I don't have any apologies about it. I mean, I think that the flaws are just in we people in
mm,
general. It's so
mm,
I think whatever America is I think it's outstanding. But I'm so like I don't know if you felt yourself doing this, but I felt myself becoming kind of like increasingly lethargic around all of this shit.
mm,
Like all of the magic words, woke, Trump, whatever the fucking magic word is. I just don't give a fucking. I don't want to hear it. I'm just so sick of it. It's so stupid. We sound so fucking dumb.
yeah,
Like it's like it's such a fucking bullshit. Uh, it's just such bullshit.
yeah,
Like, come on, guys, shut the fuck up. We got like the fucking sky is falling. Quit being retarded. Like seriously. Like
yeah.
seriously.
I was
Um,
talking to Daniel the other day in person, and he brought up the fact that things that are demonic reveal themselves as demonic when you define them.
mhm.
And I think that that's what you're touching on there. Like uh, that when you just say what's happening, then you kind of snap out of it and you get to the place where you're like, this is fucking bullshit. There's no other way to put it. And I think that that's like a good, your bullshit meter is a good demonic detecting instrument as
Right.
well.
Yeah, it's like, okay, do I really what should I have more care for? Should I have more care for the bullshit words that we're using that are like these stones that we're lobbing over this invincible fence at each other because we think it's powerful and meaningful to do so, and we um larping as people who care really
Hmm.
when we really don't? Or is it more from or should I have more care and and concern about the fact that I find it very difficult to connect to anybody in my own town or
Yeah.
in my church, and that has nothing to do with any of the shit words that we had just threw out there. It has everything to do with this. Um, our insular, our modes of insularity have become so comfortable that um, Yeah, it's yeah.
I think you're touching on something where it's like, uh, if you're right, and it is, we live in an agapic ontology, like ontology means like the thing that's the most real. So if agape is the thing that's the most real, then uh, aligning with that in some form would mean imitating it, like an image bearer of the ontology. And so you then take on the form of agape as you incarnate it, you act it out. And in doing so, you must necessarily interact with people in real life, like even what we're doing right now. We can treat each other with lots of forms of love and care and concern, but I want to say that care necessitates physicality, almost like touch. And you think of like James, where he says like, if you say be warm and be fed, like, and just be on your way, then you actually hate that person and you're not loving them in any way. And so I think that that's what you're touching on, is like, there is a tactile reality to this agape that is the purpose of us. I was going to say demanded of us, but it's the purpose of us. And so the command is really like the word of God singing from the beginning of creation, and we are an expression of it. And we can somehow fall out of harmony with that or something, but like, to the extent that we can align with it, it's going to require getting dirty and getting physical. And um, that's something that those enclosures, with all of our stuff and the comfort of our insularity, as you said, uh, that's going to impede us from that.
Mhm.
And yeah, I have to go. My baby woke up, and I said I would be done when he woke up. So
All right, man.
um,
Thanks for spending time with me, Ian.
yeah, it was a pleasure. Um, yeah, I appreciate you.
All right, have a good one.
See ya.
Later. And with that, I guess be a good time to go.